Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
We'll be a pretty darn good offensive team if Kyle Martin and Max Schrock swing the bat. I've said that from the get-go, and that's what I believe. Those guys swung the bat today, and it was good to see Max get going a little bit.
Sometimes you just need an easy basket or two to kind of take a deep breath and, okay, we're okay, offensively. And we just don't shoot it very well, and we never got any of those easy ones.
Get ready for the last week of the regular season and being able to go out and hopefully continue to play fairly good basketball that I think we've played here as of late.
Don't shoot it very well. My goodness, that might be the understatement of the year in college basketball. Brad Brownell, what a weird game that was last night. Of course, Clemson played very good defense in the first half, 1-point game at the break. And then after a Grantham 3 with about 17:49 to play, they didn't make another basket for over 14 minutes. But what made it really weird was the emergence of Gabe DeVoe, who in about a 3-minute period or so, he played a total of 6 minutes, scored 18 points. I mean, he was knocking down threes. He was knocking down everything that left his hand, and it made the final score a little more respectable for the Tigers last night in that loss to it. A good win for State, improves their status for the NCAA tournament. And Clemson now has to go up to Notre Dame and try and see if they can build something towards an NIT bid. You heard from Frank Martin. The Gamecocks have their senior night tomorrow night against Arkansas. And Chad Holbrook, Gamecocks are playing this afternoon, having their way with High Point. It was 11-2 last I checked. You have an updated score?
It was at last glance, that's what it was. Okay. Gamecocks are taking out some frustration on High Point, I think.
Well, I was out there earlier. The wind was blowing out briskly to right field, and in the first inning, they got 2-run homers from Martin and Schrock, got them off to a 4-0 lead. It was 7-0 quickly, and that was plenty for Matt Vogel, who actually came out in the third inning. And I don't know if that was on a pitch count thing or just what. We'll see who they'll give credit to for the victory. But the Gamecocks on their way to a second straight win after losing the series against Clemson. So you were up at Charlotte. You saw the Slackers and the Hornets last night.
I saw the Lakers play the Hornets. Hornets won 104-103.
Mm-hmm.
They had it check. You know how the NBA goes. You get the timeouts and the ball at half court. The Lakers hit a 3 on the buzzer. But it's always nice to get up there and check out a game at Time Warner Arena, watch the Lakers do what they need to do, lose.
See, Pro, isn't that
Sad.
terrible?
It is. It's awful.
See, here, I'm
Byron Scott.
I want my team
doesn't
to
like
win.
me. He said after the game last night he doesn't like Laker fans like me that want them to lose.
Did he actually say that? He doesn't like the fans that want them to lose?
He said he doesn't understand. It's like, well, the bottom line is for the Lakers to get relevant again, they need that top 5 pick.
That's why people say either in the NBA, either very bad or very good. That's why they blow teams up. That's why teams like my Hawks stayed in purgatory for so long, because they were good enough to get into the playoffs every year and never got a number 1 pick unless they made a trade, which they did, and they stole Al Horford that year.
Phone calls and more coming up. It is Sports Talk from downtown Columbia, Main Street. Sports Talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. Glad to have you with us wherever you're dialed in tonight across the great state of South Carolina. 800-956-7266 is the number. We'll take your phone calls right away, 800-956-7266. Your emails too, talkback@sportstalksc.com. Follow us on Twitter @SportsTalkSC. The website is sportstalksc.com. Facebook is Sports Talk Radio Network. It's a breezy day in Columbia, wind blowing out at Carolina Stadium. Gamecocks jumped out to a 7-0 lead on High Point, as I mentioned. A couple of 2-run homers, and they have continued to add to their lead. It's 11-3 in the bottom of the 7th, 11-12-2 for South Carolina, 3-2-0 for High Point. Kyle Martin has a couple of hits on the day for South Carolina. Destino is 3 for 4. Mooney is 2 for 3 at this point. Martin hit a home run, and Schrock hit a home run as well, as the Gamecocks built the early lead in this one, and they have it on cruise control. It was Vogel starting for the Gamecocks, going 3 2/3, allowed a hit, 2 runs, 1 earned. He walked 3, struck out 4. Destino came in for his first appearance on the mound in a USC uniform. 2/3 of an inning, a hit, a run, walked 3, struck out 1. Preston Johnson in now, 2 2/3 innings thus far, no runs, no hits. He has struck out 3. So Gamecocks well on their way. Martin, by the way, with the 4 RBIs on this afternoon, and he has jacked his average up to 349. Just with the doctored order for South Carolina after losing the Clemson series to get back on the field and win a couple of games. They've got a chance to really pad the record here over the next couple of weeks before they get into SEC play. Meantime, Clemson jumps into ACC play this weekend. They go to NC State, so a test right out of the bag for the Tigers. We'll update some other scores for you. The college basketball March Madness is underway. The Big South tournament getting underway today in Myrtle Beach. Presbyterian playing Longwood, and PC season is done after a 65-61 loss at the HTC Center. Bluehosts finished the season at 10-22. We've got SEC and ACC women's basketball getting underway. So it is here and blowing in a hurry. March all over the place. Will be down at the Big South on Friday. We've got a number of South Carolina teams there, of course, with a chance to win. Also tonight, Mike Young will be along, the Wofford coach. Southern Conference tournament getting underway. They are the favorites. We'll hear from Dabo Swinney. Tigers have their second spring practice today. We'll get the word from the Clemson coach coming up a little bit later on. And more from Brad Brownell and Frank Martin, one looking back and one looking ahead. All right, 800-956-7266, the number. Let's jump to your phone calls on this Wednesday night. And it's down Myrtle Beach. We welcome JC into Sports Talk. Hi, JC. How are you?
Guys, how y'all doing?
We're doing great. How are you?
Doing well. I wanted to just comment. You were talking about the Gabe from the Clemson NC State game. When I saw that, I thought about you guys remember Dwayne Day from South Carolina? Didn't he score like 15 or 18 points in about a 2.5, 3-minute stretch against Florida several years back?
Yeah.
That's what came to mind for me. So I just wanted to let you guys know that, and enjoy the show as always.
What came to my mind was the kid. The kid the other night. Was it Florida State? A player scored like 30
points in less than 5 minutes and a loss. They were down 18, but he got him
kid, the hyphenated name.
The kid from Canada, the freshman.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, last night it was a tough performance for Clemson in the second half. I mean, both teams really locked in defensively, and Clemson played great defense in the first half. But in the second half, their defense wasn't as good. That's the one thing, the missed shots, the poor shooting. Obviously, Brad Brownell, what can you do about that? You take shots, they go in, they don't go in. But one thing you can do is continue to play really good defense, and they didn't do that in the second half. And that probably disappointed him more than anything else, the fact that they just did not continue with their defensive effort and intensity in the second half.
Well, yeah, and of course sometimes you try not to, but if shots don't start to drop, you hang your head on defense, and that's what happens. Also, you can't really get into any kind of a press if there's no made basket, and that's a key to a good defense as well. And maybe Clemson, they ran out of gas because they had to use an extra tank going into overtime against Georgia Tech over the weekend.
I don't know. They just didn't have it in the second half. They ended up on the night shooting 29.9%. Third time this year they've shot under 30%. Gabe DeVoe with his 6 for 10 shooting in 6 minutes, he came in and jacked up 10 shots. But Brownell put him in there. They were down double figures, and he said, go out there and shoot. And he has the ability to shoot from downtown, way downtown. And he, of course, one of his shots went in at the buzzer. It was kind of a shot put heave that went in. He was at one of those kind of nights. So 18 points. Of course, last night is the unofficial final game at Littlejohn as we know it. They may be back for an NIT game. Only time will tell. But if not, then they drop the curtain on Littlejohn Coliseum. It's going to go through a complete tear down and rebuild with a new name. I think they're looking for a corporate name to slap on the building, or maybe the name of another major contributor from what I've been told. So that's it for about 47 years. Littlejohn Coliseum has been where Clemson has played its basketball. There's been a lot of great moments there. They've beaten number 1 teams. They've beaten top 5 teams there. That place, hard to believe, it used to hold over 13,000.
Yeah.
When it was originally built, it was larger. If it held over 13,000, it was larger than the Carolina Coliseum because it never held more than 12,000 and something.
No, well, it's something like Tennessee. Tennessee, if you look at the configuration of the stadium or whatever, and you put your hands about a foot apart, and that's your seat.
Oh, yeah. They crammed them in there.
At Clemson or at South Carolina, but it's about a half a foot if you go into Neyland Stadium in Knoxville.
I don't know what's going to happen with the future of the basketball program with this building. The hope is, of course, that this will help to attract better athletes, better players, make it a more comfortable environment for their fans. It's going to be a smaller arena. They're going to cut it down to about 9,000. They're going to spend, $60-something million. They just spent $32 million in early 2000 in redoing it. Remember, they had to redo the roof because the
purple
roof
seats and
the roof was cracking.
Leaking water. That wasn't that long ago.
It was the beams were actually cracking. Yeah, early 2000s. They spent $32 million refurbishing the arena just 15 years ago. And now they're going to spend $60-something million to completely tear it down and rebuild. If it looks like the new Georgia Tech arena where Dan Radakovich was the athletic director, it will be a beautiful building, but it's not going to automatically mean the basketball program is going to go boom, boom, boom. Look where Georgia Tech is 3 years into their new building. They still stink.
And they sit in the middle of a talent hotbed in Atlanta, and they can't get it done. I wonder if, and of course, they're taking the same route, except they built from the ground as Auburn built a smaller arena, 9,000 people. But, it goes back to that old bugaboo. And I always try to go in my mind corner, and I don't know enough about the landscape of every school to figure it out, because everybody wants to say that if a school is sitting in somewhat of a rural area like a Clemson or Auburn, it's tough to build a basketball program. And I'm trying to defeat that statement. And I find it hard. Maybe you can go to Oklahoma State and something like that and say, well, they're doing it, to tell people, yeah, you can have a great basketball program in a rural setting.
I don't know. The evidence would say otherwise. There are isolated cases where you've got good programs. There aren't many. Be right back. Get back to your house. on to the bottom of the 8th over at Carolina Stadium, still 11-3. South Carolina on top of High Point. Gamecocks cruising towards another victory. Let's update a couple of things, and we'll get back to your phone calls. 800-956-7266 is the number, and email is talkback@sportstalksc.com. I want to update some college basketball for you very quickly. Ohio State and Penn State already underway.
Wow.
15-12. Ohio State leading Penn State early on there. Notre Dame, Louisville tonight. That should be a good one. Wake Forest, Duke. That should not be a good one. In the Big South tournament, as I mentioned, Presbyterian has already lost today, so their season is over. Tournament taking place at Coastal Carolina, HTC Center. Gardner-Webb, dangerous team, danger alert in the Big South. Gardner-Webb, 72-64 over Campbell. So they advance. And right now, Liberty leads Asheville 14-12. To Lester in Florence, we go next here on Sports Talk. Welcome in, Lester. How are you?
Phil, y'all had that fella from that Braves, Mike. What's the name that covers the Braves?
Mike Morgan?
Yeah, y'all had him on here a while back, and I missed it. What did he have to say about B.J. Upton? Are they going to ever be able to do anything with him?
Hold it. B.J. Upton no longer
Melvin.
exists.
That's Melvin.
He's using his God-given name, Melvin Upton Jr.
Yes.
There's no more B.J. Upton.
Well, can he hit better than that? Other name?
Well, and the thing about Melvin is he changed his name and then proceeded to get hurt.
Yeah.
He's not going to be doing anything for the rest of spring.
He's out for about 5 weeks.
Yeah,
He's got
yeah.
like a strained foot sort of thing going on, I think it is. So,
And the toughest thing about him not hitting is the fact because he can't hit, you can't afford to have him in the everyday lineup, but he's their best center fielder. So
Yeah.
he steals hits from other teams, but he's a liability when he walks to home plate with a bat in his hand.
Braves are going to be an
what's his
interesting team to watch coming out of spring with so many new names and faces. Yes, sir.
What's his contract status? How many years has he got left on that contract?
I think it's 3.
Expensive.
It's too many and too much.
Yeah, expensive.
Mhm.
We'll look that up and let you know.
And the Mets beat the Braves today, 8-2, in their first spring training game. The Mets are going to be pretty good this
Was
year.
that split
I have a
squad or
feeling.
full squad?
I believe it was full squad.
Yeah. Quickly, we go to Tiger Brian Lancaster. We're fine. How are you?
Pretty good, man. How you?
Good. How's my Lady Bruins? How's my Lady Bruins doing?
My lady Bruins coming York. Hey, we're coming down there to Columbia. Hey, bring Cole home, baby.
Yeah.
You know that?
You coming down for that?
No, my wife's on a shutdown. She works for a nuclear plant up here at Duke Fire in Tyler.
No.
And,
I bet she glows at night, doesn't she?
well, she does when I meet her to, but bring the bacon home, baby. But hey, another question I got for you: how in the world can my Clemson Tiger baseball team go from heroes to zebra last night? Man?
That's baseball,
Yeah,
baby.
baseball.
And of course, you were using a young pitcher, and that's the way it goes day in and day out. Back in a moment. Going back to the question on Melvin Upton, who's now 30 years old, 8 years of experience in the major leagues. He will be paid this year $14.4 million and change. Next year, $15.4 million and change. And 2017, $16.4 million and change. That's his salary. There are bonuses thrown in there. Oh, okay. So it's going to go $15 million, $16 million, $17 million with some bonuses thrown in there. Then he becomes an unrestricted free agent in 2018.
That's why if you got a young boy in the crib, stick a baseball in his left hand, because if he throws left-handed, he pitches left-handed. Upton batted what, below the Mendoza line last year? He's making as much money as Peyton Manning will make.
Yeah. Total amount of the contract when he signed it, a 5-year deal, $72,500,000.
Mm-hmm.
$3 million signing bonus, average salary 14.5.
Well,
Not bad.
It's not stealing, I guess, if they have a contract with
well,
you.
the most difficult player
Just looks like stealing.
The most difficult player to figure out this year, and he's going to be hurt unless some of their young players come through, like Christian Betancourt at catcher, is Freddie Freeman, because he's not going to have many people to protect him unless Chris Johnson starts to hit like he did the year before, and Andrelton Simmons plays well out of the 2-hole. So the guy that's hurt more about this lineup shakeup than anybody is the guy that they put a lot of money into for investment for the long haul, and that's Freddie Freeman.
All right, back to the phones, 800-956-7266, and it is Dave time here in Columbia. Hello, Dave. How are you?
Philip, that's corn coop money there.
No, I was just sitting here thinking, why is it that people in our position aren't offered that kind of money? I just can't figure that out.
Because you get all those free meals and tickets.
Probably so. We probably make up for it with the freebies and the good parking. Don't forget the good, excellent parking.
Right. So, I think it's an excuse that, Clemson's a rural campus and it's hard to have a winner there.
Good. Continue. Did we lose him? No, go ahead, Dave.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. In my lifetime, which has been about 45 years, Clemson has been a better basketball program than South Carolina.
Well, see, Dave, there's your problem. Don't compare them to South Carolina. Compare them. Look across the country. It's not only Clemson. Look at Auburn. Auburn has had great teams when Barkley was there and after Barkley left under Sunday Smith, but they couldn't maintain. We were just talking about the Big Ten. All the money they got at Penn State, you can't remember a good team Penn State has had, and they're sitting out of the mud. I mean, there's just so much evidence of it happening. But as I said before, I'm trying to prove people wrong that you can have a consistent winner at a school that's not in a metropolitan area.
Yeah, Dave, what are your feelings, Dave? What are your feelings before we get back to that? What are your feelings about the closing of Little John, the complete remake, and the building of a entirely new building for the basketball program?
I don't know if that's going to help. We got to get some offense. I think we got a good coach. He's defensive minded, but it takes somebody like OPP or Rick Barnes or somebody to shake things up. At Clemson, they can't be blasé. They've got to challenge the status quo, push the boundaries on recruiting, and get some top flight athletes. But, Cliff Ellis, look at all the NBA players he put in. We had some good teams. We won the ACC. We've been to the Sweet 16. We've been to the Final 8. We've, we've been much better in South Carolina, and we've been a rural campus. If we could have just held on to, Rick Barnes or OPP, who knows where we'd be right now.
What did you say? They had a good teams. We're talking about program.
Yeah, but coaches have to stay for a long time to build programs.
And let's face it, Rick Barnes was sitting there, and Rick Barnes is from Hickory, North Carolina.
Here's all you have to know. Here's all you have to know. In a situation like Clemson, Bill Foster had a good program at Clemson, yet he left to go to Miami before Miami was in the ACC,
right,
to start over the program there. He left an ACC. Back then, coaches didn't leave ACC programs on their own volition. The part of the problem is that the emphasis at Clemson is so much on football. through in everybody's mind, from administration all the way down through the fans, that the basketball coach feels like he's that redheaded stepchild. It's hard to make your mark at Clemson in basketball, and the good coaches, when they get a chance to go somewhere else,
they go.
Well,
Yeah,
look at the history.
I mean,
but you're not going to build a
that's-
program that way. That's my point. You're not going to build a long-standing program if you're changing coaches.
Well, not every program
5 or
can be a
6 years.
destination job. I mean,
Florida did. I mean, look, they got a coach to stay.
Yeah.
And they were terrible in
They took a
basketball.
flyer.
And football.
Yeah,
football
but Gainesville is not metropolitan, but it's more metropolitan.
Look, they took a flyer on a young assistant coach, Billy Donovan. He hadn't been a head coach. Had he been a head coach?
Yeah, he came from Marshall.
That's right. But he had been an assistant coach at Kentucky.
Under Patino, yes.
And then he went to Marshall for a short period.
About 2 or 3 years.
Then he goes to Florida. And, he did some things, if you believe stories. He did some things, pushed the envelope, took advantage of opportunities to get a pipeline of players coming to his program, got them going, got them established, and the rest is history.
But then again, Florida has had good teams under Norm Sloan. Because remember, Norm Sloan came from Florida to NC State and then back to Florida.
Well, bro, we've had good teams.
But that's what I'm saying. You've had good teams, but you haven't had a consistent program. That's why we were saying you got to keep a guy there. If Rick Barnes was still there, there's no doubt.
Rick Barnes brought a certain flair and charisma.
And Big East.
Purnell brought a level of excitement with his style of play. Brownell, very good X's and O's man. But Shaka Smart would be a very big hire. But, Brad Brownell's a well thought of coach, but he plays, maybe it's because of the players he has, he plays a boring style of basketball.
And Shaka Smart has had a lot of opportunities to leave VCU and has elected to stay. And he wasn't at Clemson that long. I mean, I don't think that would be, a dream job for Shaka Smart.
Let's face it.
ACC job.
Yeah, well, he's had all the opportunities in the ACC. He could have gone to NC State. He's had opportunities.
Could have gone to Illinois.
He could have gone to
Illinois. I mean, this is a guy that he's pretty happy doing what he's doing at VCU. He's taking them to the Final Four. He's got he's at a basketball school. Fans,
he's the top dog there.
Yeah,
when he calls the athletic director comes to his office. When you're the basketball coach at a basketball school, Memphis is another one. Some of those guys stay there, and that's it.
Dabo's office.
You meet the AD at Dabo's office whenever you need some support. No, but I mean, football drives the bus. But we have done it. We just need a coach that'll consistently stay there and build a program.
Well, Brownell's got a long-term contract. Shows no inclination on wanting to go anywhere else. He's trying to get the best players that he can into the program, but he's going to lose his point guard, Rod Hall, from this year's team. He's going to lose his center, Landry Noko. I don't think, even though Hall has been a contributor big time for the last 3 years, I think they can do better. I think they can upgrade, especially offensively at that position. Maybe Ty Hudson coming in, maybe the transfer who is sitting out this year is going to be an upgrade.
When Clemson has been good, they've had good inside scores. And you'd be surprised, Dave, how great or better guys shoot when the threat of the inside scorer pulls the defense inside and guys have more open
how
looks.
much are they going to be hurt by not having a true home court next year? Let's face it. How many students are going to make that ride over to Greenville?
They'll bust them over.
They still got to ride.
Yeah.
You got to get on the bus. You got to get over there. Now, you're going to have all those Clemson fans in the Greenville area going, yeah, well, you people need to get out there and support it. But I wonder how many of the students are going to make that ride to really give them, because the older people are going to sit on their hands and sit on their butts. It's the students who generate that home court advantage.
They're going to bust them over, and when they get on the bus, they're going to have a big meal sitting in every seat for the students. There's your food.
And a six-pack?
No
six-pack.
Mark and his guys, I thought they played pretty well tonight. Learning this lesson.
It's gone final at Carolina Stadium. Gamecocks beat High Point 11-3, and South Carolina improves to 9-3 on the season with their second straight win. It is Preston Johnson taking the win, coming out of the bullpen. He's 1-0, 11-12-2, and 3-3-0 are your line scores. Talking Clemson basketball a little while ago, last night the Tigers lost a game to NC State that pretty much ends any hope for them making the NCAA tournament unless they win the ACC tournament. Still have hope of making the NIT. Weird game, as we talked about earlier. Tigers couldn't make a shot from the floor for over 14 minutes in the second half. Didn't score for over 8 minutes. Yet they closed quickly to get within 5, but that was it. It was all thanks to the freshman Gabe DeVoe knocking down a bunch of shots. NC State, in today's bracketology by Joe Lunardi, moves up a spot to number 9. So it was a nice win for the Wolfpack. Here's Brad Brownell.
Mark and his guys, I thought they played pretty well tonight. I think our guys were really excited to play and compete, almost a little too excited. I think had a really good turnout, great student turnout, good crowd. And I think my guys were a little too amped up, to be honest with you, in the first half. And thought we played great defensively for the first 20 minutes. And unfortunately, we took some bad shots in the first half. And we needed to have a lead. We needed to play better. I thought we guarded them about as well as you could. But offensively, we made poor decisions in terms of shot selection. Guys I thought were just too jacked and took bad shots. And then in the second half, while most people obviously we didn't play well offensively, we really lost the game because we didn't guard. And as a team, you have to know what your identity is. And we're not going to get in scoring contests with the better teams in this league offensively and win. It's just not our nature. It's not what we do. I told our guys that at a timeout around 12 minutes that at the rate it's going, I think we were still tied or maybe down 2 so I told our guys that we were the rate it's going, they're going to score 42 points in this half. They scored 46 because of the fouling. And that's not going to be good enough for us. And unfortunately, we never turned that around. We got into our drought, had our drought offensively, but really the game was lost because of poor defense at the second half. Yeah, really, really happy and proud of Gabe. It's really the last month is when it's finally starting to click. He really, really struggled in November and December. And, it's taken him longer than we hoped or thought. But finally the game has slowed down a little bit for him. He has strength and he has deep shooting ability, and it's two things we need. It's ironic because I don't even know. Somebody said, I don't know if he's made a shot in this building yet until tonight. He made 6. So he'd had some other opportunities to score. He hadn't done it, but obviously I put him out there against Duke, and he played very well at Duke. And then, tonight he was fantastic. He's in a situation where it's just, hey, let her fly. And he did. He made shots. And hopefully that just builds his confidence. And, in the last month in practice first, we finally have seen the guy that we thought we recruited and feel like he can be a very productive player moving forward. It was both. I think State's defense was good. And I thought we got a little timid when we didn't score for a while. I thought Anye bothered us a few times in there. and it made it a little harder. And, we never really got stops, so we didn't have any transition. We never got like an easy basket or two. Sometimes you just need an easy basket or two to kind of take a deep breath and, okay, we're okay, offensively. And we just don't shoot it very well. And we never got any of those easy ones. And when that didn't happen, it put more pressure on our team, and we didn't handle that pressure very well. We almost played like we had a piano on our back a little bit instead of confidently making plays. And that's a little disappointing. I think we should have done a little better. First half, I think we were just anxious and amped up. Second half, we actually started the second half very well offensively the first 7 or 8 minutes, but then we went through that period where just awful. He helped them. He got a few buckets on Jordan. Jordan actually did a pretty good job of him at their place because his speed running off the screens was pretty good against it. But tonight he had trouble. And again, the first 3 he made against Jordan, Jordan's right there, hand in his face, doing everything you can do. Even a taller guy wouldn't have been able to do much more because Jordan's speed allowed him to stay with him. But once he got going, it was a problem.
Brad Brownell, following the Tigers' loss last night against NC State, they'll have a extra day or so to regroup and get ready for Notre Dame. They've played 5 games this year. I don't know if this is considered a high amount or not. 5 games this year in which they had either a Saturday, Monday, Saturday, Tuesday, or Sunday, Tuesday turnaround in ACC play. That seem like a lot?
Yeah, football teams get.
That's no. I'm talking about a 1 day or 2 day turnaround. Okay, to recruiting we go here on this Wednesday nights. Offensive lineman Jack DeFore, Calhoun, Georgia, has been strong on Clemson since attending the first junior day of the 2016 recruiting season there in January. He's had a lot of offers since then. He's been to other places as well, but he tells us Clemson remains at the top of his list. He said, I really like Clemson. They are still at the top of my list, the leader for right now. He said they remain very interested in him and vice versa. He attended Auburn's junior day last Saturday. He's going to Ole Miss March 28th. He does not plan to be at Clemson's junior day this Saturday, but he does plan to come in for a spring practice and the spring game. He said Ole Miss and Vandy are second and third on his list. Other offers are Nebraska, Missouri, Michigan, Louisville, Virginia Tech, Colorado State, and others. Nation's number one defensive end, according to some, Shavar Manuel, plans to visit Clemson at some point this spring. Athlete Jake Morgenstern from up in Connecticut was offered by Vanderbilt. He also has a Clemson offer. Basketball, 6'2" point guard Jaron Cena, who decided last month to transfer from Seton Hall after nearly 2 seasons with the Pirates, and hasn't taken long for the big schools to jump in on him, including USC. He told us today he just got his release last weekend. He's still trying to figure things out with the schools and build relationships with the coaches. One of those is USC's Frank Martin, whom Cena expects to meet in person Sunday or Monday. He's looking forward to meeting with Martin to learn more about him and the Gamecock program, which he feels like is moving in a proper direction, and he feels like Martin is doing a great job at South Carolina. He said Michigan, Boston College, and several other ACC, Big Ten, and SEC schools have reached out to him as well. He's far from a decision at this point. He's majoring in journalism and business, and he's interested in a career in broadcasting. Averaging 7 points and 3 assists per game this season when he left the team. Said he was a knockdown shooter, can shoot off the bounce, high IQ guy, a team leader, good passer. He's a native of Jefferson, New Jersey. South Carolina jumping in on him.
All you had to do was shoot or stop. That's all we need. Hold it. You don't have to test it anymore.
Man, if you can make 40% of your shots, you'll be in the Hall of Fame at South Carolina. That's about all it takes.
Yeah, they need a shooter.
They got Arkansas tomorrow night. Looking forward to seeing the big guy in the middle.
Portis.
Yeah.
Portis, yeah.
What a player, huh?
Portis, to me, if he comes out this year, he should be a high lottery pick because he can do so many things. He can handle, he could block shots, he could shoot outside, and he can rebound.
All right, top of the hour break. Should you lose us over the airwave, stick with us on our website, sportstalksc.com, audio feed, video stream as well. We've got Chad Holbrook post-game coming up, Frank Martin preview coming up, and Dabo Sweeney from practice. All of that and more coming up.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
All right, we are back. It is Sports Talk. Phil, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes, the State Man, Graham Pope, all together in our Columbia studios for tonight and tomorrow night. Then we kind of split up. I'll be at the Big South on Friday through the weekend covering that. Then next week, I'll be at the SEC. K-Mac will be at the ACC. And Pro and State Man will hold things together, hold the fort together here in Columbia. 800-956-7266. There were a couple of other recruiting notes I wanted to mention. I forgot to before we hit the top of the hour break. And those are that athlete Denaji Huzendove, sophomore from Allendale Fairfax, who's an interesting story. You know, he had told us a while back, a few weeks ago, that he had committed to North Texas. Well, last night he tells us that after visiting Florida and getting an offer from the Gators, he has now committed to Florida. So this is coming from the young man. Committing to Florida. This would be another player in the state leaving the state. Saw something interesting, though, that Paul Strelo wrote on TigerIllustrated.com about Clemson's recruiting. And basically he wrote that Clemson's recruiters have raised the bar so high in their recruiting, in particular as it pertains to in-state talent, that they're passing on a lot of players in the state that don't reach the bar that they have set in recruiting. And they're passing on a lot of players who are going to other power conference programs. And people are wondering why Clemson isn't offering this guy or that guy or recruiting this guy, that guy who is going to a big-time program. According to what he wrote, they've raised the bar so high in their recruiting that they don't meet the criteria for a Clemson offer.
Well, you know, it's one of those things you got to be careful because you want to be able to get the best players, but you also don't want to get a reputation that you don't recruit in state. And that's a little fence walk you have to do.
Well, I don't think they're ever going to get that reputation.
Yeah.
They're always going to recruit the top of the top in state.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they're passing on some guys that are going to other places like T.J. Brunson from Richland Northeast tells us today he got offered by Louisville.
Better jump on that while you can.
He's got USC, NC State, Louisville, Georgia Southern right now. So interesting to see how the in-state schools deal with these players in state who are going to big-time programs out of state, and people are raising their eyebrows like, why are South Carolina and Clemson not offering these guys? Maybe they look at them in a different light than the rest of us do.
But then again, you look at a team like South Carolina who's reached into Alabama and maybe got some of the leavings that Alabama and Auburn don't want, but they've turned out to be pretty good players.
They have. And Alabama and Auburn can only take so many between them in a state that produces a fair amount of good high school football players. 800-956-7266. Take more of your phone calls coming up. Your thoughts on recruiting, your thoughts on the upcoming tournaments, the state of basketball, spring football, baseball, whatever is your fancy. We'll continue with your calls and more coming up.
get ready for the last week of the regular season and being able to go out and hopefully continue to play.
Now, they unveiled a new tombstone at Clemson today, coming on against Oklahoma in the bowl game. Dabo Swinney talking to some of his players, had a couple of former players there, Grady Jarrett and Robert Smith, to talk to the youngsters. And so a new tombstone in place up at Tiger Town. If you're ever up there, you can check out those tombstones as you walk towards the practice facility, the practice fields, the new indoor practice facility. That's where they have their tombstones. What a great idea that was. I don't remember if Clemson was the first to do that, or maybe Florida State was the first to do that.
Take, when they were independent, they take sod from the other team, especially when they beat Nebraska or LSU on the road, and then put but you can plant some seed in its place; it'll grow back. And they would bury it at Choke Shamble Stadium, which is now Palace Dope Campbell Stadium.
Yeah,
but back then
used to be the Great Erector Set.
Yeah,
that's what we used to call it.
Was bad.
But and Clemson grabbed onto that under Danny Ford. I think is when they started doing it, grabbing some sod. They called them sod games and planting them and putting a tombstone there. So I used to think that the criteria for that was beating. What was Oklahoma ranked in the bowl game?
Were
they a top 10 team? Were they ranked in the top 10?
No,
I don't think so.
It says it on the tombstone. You have a picture of it?
I have to go back and look at it. But typically, it used to be a top 10 win on the road, right? Was a tombstone victory.
Yeah.
So, maybe they've adjusted the criteria for that. Anyway, TigerNet has that on their website if you want to take a look at the unveiling of the tombstone today up at Clemson. We'll hear from Dabo Swinney, his comments from practice in just a little bit. Now, South Carolina basketball getting ready for senior day, senior night at Colonial Life Arena tomorrow night as Arkansas comes to town, an Arkansas team that is very much in the NCAA tournament. Right now, they are by Joe Lunardi, and I just go by Joe Lunardi. He's usually about 100% right on this stuff. He's got Arkansas as a 5 seed to play Wofford in the opening round. The Razorbacks, excellent team, got humbled a little bit by Kentucky. They come in 23-6, 12-4 in SEC play. But they're a talented team. You know what they're going to do. They're going to bring the defense on. They're going to try and lock you down, and they are looking to bounce back from an 84-67 loss to Kentucky. They've already beaten the Gamecocks once this season, right? Didn't they play them earlier this year?
Yeah, they played them at Bud Walton Arena.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. Yeah, beat them by 20, 75-55. Bobby Portis, big-time player inside, can dominate, can run the floor. He's just a terrific athlete. So far this season, 17.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, got 44 blocks, but he's got a lot of help. Michael Qualls, another good player for them, averaging 15 points per game. Rashad Madden averaging 10 points. So it's a talented lineup. It's a big lineup. Guards at 6'5", 6'6", 6'6", and Portis at 6'11". They're big, long, and lean, and you think you got a layup, and here they come from the backside with one of those blocks from the backside. You don't see it coming. Here's Frank Martin hoping to build on that win against Mississippi State the other day. They've had some time to get ready. This could be to their advantage. Now they've had a few days to get ready for Arkansas, but also Arkansas, but also Arkansas has had some time off since the Kentucky game to get ready too. But they're already in town. They have bad weather in Fayetteville, and Arkansas actually was in town yesterday. Mm-hmm. So They were getting out of Fayetteville before the wintry weather hit, which came in there today with snow and ice and things of that nature. Here's Frank Martin taking a look ahead as he met with the media today, taking a look ahead to tomorrow night's game.
Get ready for the last week of the regular season and being able to go out and hopefully continue to play fairly good basketball that I think we've played here as of late. And hard opponent in Arkansas. If you study Arkansas's numbers and their record, and you put them in any of the other so-called great conferences, they'd be a top 10 team in the country. When you take into consideration the two big losses that they've had away from home, were to Kentucky and to Iowa State. And they're 25-5, I want to say. Compare them to some of the teams that have lost 9 and 10 games in other leagues that are top 10 in the country, and there's no comparison. But it is what it is. I think they're real good. Bobby Portis has established himself as an All-American candidate, Madden, senior guard, just doing great things. They're experienced. They play well on both ends of the floor. They're phenomenal in transition offensively, just phenomenal. If you can't control them, if you take bad shots or turn it over, which we did a lot of that against them the first time around, it becomes a layup drill. They're so good in the open court. So our offense will be challenged, not just to make shots, but to take good shots and not turn it over. And then quick turn. We haven't had one of these in a while. So it'll be interesting to see how we handle this. Play a team that presses you the whole game and then falls into a matchup zone in Tennessee. That's got a couple guys in Josh Richardson and Armani Moore who have had real good years for them, and they just from a matchup standpoint and style of play, they were hard for us the first time around.
Frank, kind of a two-part question. You'll be facing a couple of the SEC's best in Portis and Richardson. What have you seen from those guys as the years gone by? Portis kind of seems to be getting better, but Richardson, maybe because the minutes played, might seem to be kind of dragging toward the end of the season.
Portis, they're both real good players. They're both phenomenal. They both made tremendous jumps this year from last year. Richardson, like we said at the time, was they had some other personalities, for lack of better words, that were the focal points of that team last year, and and he's kind of taken on that job this year and done a great job for them. And then Portis is just he's real good. He's so efficient. He's grown up so much. I think he understands the speed and the strength of college basketball now better than he did last year. He does not miss from that 16-foot range. Got great hands, finds the ball, extremely active on both ends of the floor. I think Portis is real good.
I know this is something that's really important for you as a person, but Ty Johnson, when he was up there just a minute ago, mentioned that basketball might not go exactly the way he wants, but he'll be able to say he has his degree. What does that mean to you that he gets that?
I think as you get older as a player, you start evaluating things differently than you did when you were 18 years of age. Unfortunately, too many kids that are 17, 18 in our sport are led to believe that this whole basketball thing's a little easier than it really is. And as they get older and they stay in college, they start embracing reality, which reality is the responsibilities that you observe.
All right, having a problem with the audio there from Frank Martin, but you get the gist of what he's saying. He was going to get into a topic about Ty Johnson appreciating the fact that even though he came to South Carolina, didn't make the NCAA tournament, he's going to get his degree and have a good experience during his time at South Carolina, except for the injury. And that, who knows what they might have done last year had he not gone down with that injury.
Yeah,
so
too
early.
bad that official was in the wrong place and he stepped on his foot and he broke his foot.
Very unfortunate. We'll be back with more in a moment. Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. 800-956-7266 is our phone number if you want to join us here on the program. Mike Young, Wofford basketball coach, coming up in just a little bit here on the program. Of course, they're going to go into the Southern Conference tournament as the number one team in the Southern Conference after winning the regular season championship. A couple of other quick notes. USC women, Tiffany Mitchell named one of 10 national semifinalists for the Naismith Trophy. Head coach Dawn Staley also named national semifinalists for Naismith Women's College Coach of the Year. So congratulations to them. And Magic Johnson's going to be in the state. He's coming to South Carolina State later this month to speak to students on March 26th as part of the school's executive speaker series. How they're paying him, we have no idea.
Maybe they're going to say, "Hey, Magic, do you mind dropping us a little check here?"
Absolutely. Be our Joe Moglia.
Well, that's one of the reasons you hire a speaker. Yeah, they leave a little dust when they they leave.
Not always.
That's pretty. How about that? Magic Johnson's going to be at South Carolina State this week. Barack Obama's going to be at Benedict. So two of the historically black. I guess Benedict isn't considered a historically black college, is it? Is it?
Oh, yes, it is.
Okay.
It's always been that.
Always been.
It's always been.
It's
always been.
Hence the term.
All right, back to the phones we go. And it's Billy and Florence up next. Hi, Billy. Welcome to Sports Talk.
Hey, Phil. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to respond, make a Clemson football comment and kind of respond to Frank Martin real quick. I know he just kind of mentioned Arkansas or any other league that'd be in the top 10, and I think he mentioned 25-5. And I'll make this quick about Arkansas. yeah, he failed to mention that Clemson went and beat them on their home court. He mentioned Iowa State, mentioned 2 losses to Kentucky, and I just thought that was pretty comical. And also in the top 10, I don't think they are. They better than Notre Dame? No, absolutely. Virginia playing without one of their without All-American top player Anderson, and still doing what they're doing. Arkansas would finish probably 5th in the ACC. That's about all I got to say about that.
Well, let me explain something why he said that.
Why? Who said it?
Why Frank Martin said what he said. He didn't say that because he's comparing team to team. He's comparing the disparaging view that still the media have of the SEC. So he's saying, look, if they were in any other league with this record, they would be in the top 10. That's what he meant by that.
And hey, I like the way he defends. I mean, hey, I like the way he defends the league. He would do the same if he was in the ACC, but I just thought that, and that's why sports talk's fun. Everything's opinionated, and I just think, you always build the team up you're playing. But real quick, the football comment. Still, I know DJ Reader said the defense will be just as good, and I like the confidence. I don't see it because it's hard to be better than number 1.
Yeah.
But I think if Venables keep that defense between 10 and 20 with the offense with Deshaun Watson and the boys, I think that'll kind of balance it out.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for your phone call. Be right back. All right, Notre Dame having its way with Louisville right now in Louisville. Irish up 34-25 about 5 minutes ago in the first half there. Meantime, at the HTC Center in Conway at Coastal Carolina, 8:55 to go in the half. Asheville leading Liberty 56-49, the Big South tournament. Longwood has beaten Presbyterian 65-61. Gardner-Webb knocked off Campbell 72-64. Now, coming up Friday, it's the start of the Southern Conference Tournament at U.S. Cellular Center in Asheville. Have the 8-9 teams, Greensboro and Sanford, playing in the first game. 7-10 teams playing in game 2. Citadel and Furman waiting in the wings for the winner of the 8-9 game will be the number 1 seed, the Southern Conference champion, Wofford Terriers. That game will be at 12 o'clock on Saturday. We welcome into Sports Talk the newly named Coach of the Year in the Southern Conference, Coach Mike Young. Congratulations to you and your team. Carl Cochran is the Player of the Year. You're the number 1 seed. Joe Lunardi's got you as a 12 seed nationally, but you know there's still work to be done.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, Phil? You're so geared up on your regular season, and you want to, take a step back and being with pride, if you will, having won 16 of 18 and put together a great 4 months, November, December, in league play, 16-2. I think we were 9-4 coming out of non-league play. Then, everything is the reset button's been hit, and everybody's back to 0-0.
Yeah.
And, we'll play Greensboro Stanford on Saturday, that game, and they've been on the floor. And they're chomping at the bit. They're 3 games away, as we are, from going to the promised land. So it's interesting, but it's what makes it great. And it is, tournament time, and our boys will be ready. I know that.
What is the best thing about this team? What do you like the most about it?
I could go on and on. They're tough. They're really tough guys, and there's no entitlement here, Phil. We don't do entitled. They know they're going to walk on the practice floor every day, and they're going to earn it. And they're not worried about how many shots they get. They're not worried about how many pair of shoes they get. They're not worrying about, what they eat for pregame and postgame. They are about winning. They are about being a great teammate and representing this college and our basketball program in a class fashion. I could go on and on, but those are the first couple of things that come to my head.
Yeah, absolutely. From the very beginning, you went out and you played Stanford, and it was a respectable game. You go and you beat NC State. They're probably going to be a tournament team. You beat Charleston Southern. They could quite possibly be a tournament team. I mean, the national basketball pundits, they know you. You've been there before. You've been in the tournament. And they kind of – how do you feel when you hear people talk about your program as being like a Gonzaga here on the East Coast, that kind of program with that kind of potential to grow and be a successful team in the postseason in the NCAA tournament?
It's flattering. I chuckle. I do, Phil. I've been doing this stuff a long time and follow it closely and know all these guys. Those comparisons, it might be a bit far-fetched, really. And Gonzaga is no more mid-major than Notre Dame is.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing, in Wichita State. That's holy smokes. Those guys are serious. They are serious about winning. They're talking about, different things. But you know what? To your point, we've put ourselves in position now to. We're proud of what we've accomplished, and with Mr. Richardson's gift and the indoor stadium coming online here in a year and a half, 2 years is another big time shot in the arm. We're attracting really, really sharp and good basketball players that are our kind of guys. So, I know where you're going, and I agree completely. And needless to say, we're very proud of that and flattered by those thoughts.
Now, as a coach and you're in a tournament and you're making a long run, preparation time when you don't know when the next opponent is going to be until the bracket comes out the next day or after the other team wins. First of all, do you guys even sleep during the tournament, or how do you prepare from opponent to opponent if you're making a long run in the tournament?
You're talking about our league tournament,
yes.
I assume.
Right.
You know, there's such some familiarity. I mean, South Carolina's got great familiarity with teams in the SEC, and we do as well with teams in the Southern Conference. So, you know, it's the Stanford game would be a bit tricky for us, as we had there was a quirk in our schedule. We played them January 3 and then again January 10. So we haven't played them for, you know, quite some time. So we've spent an inordinate amount of time this week in looking at their last 6-7 games. You know, guys, I don't want to misguide anybody. I'm gonna get my rest. I'm not one of those guys. I'm not gonna sit in that film room and watch that stuff all night long. I know what we have to do. I know what we have to guard and how we're gonna guard it. So, you know, I'm gonna like our team. We're gonna enjoy our time. We know what's in front of us. We know what we've got to do, and I really and truly, we worry as much about Wofford and how we play as compared to you know, our opponent.
How has this team handled being the favorite all season long? I think you know, people knew that you were the team to beat in the league going in, and you held up your end of the bargain there. You won 25 games. Now you're the favorite going in. How do your players? How are they dealing with that level of expectation?
It's another, you know, layer of you know, toughness. They've handled it with aplomb. They're confident, but not brash. You know, they understand, having been there a year ago. It was early in the year, Phil, and I thought we were back on our heels. I mean, everybody's taking these shots at us. I mean, everybody's giving us their best shot, and I thought we were against the ropes a bit, for lack of a better expression. You know, kind of being defensive. You know, so it kind of came a point. For goodness sake, swing, man! You're the king of the hill. I mean, you're the best team in this league. Fight, and you know, something clicked, and we really started to guard. And but they've handled it, you know, exceptionally well. You go 8-1 in this league, any league. That's a mouthful. That's hard, and we did it, and I'm proud of them. And we look forward to getting up the mountain and playing on Saturday.
Any injuries concerning you going?
None. We're as healthy as we were October 15th, which is a blessing. You know, we're all an ankle injury away, a little tweak of an ankle being, you know, a different team. We're healthy, and that I'm certainly feel blessed to be in that position going into our league tournament.
Best of luck to you. As always, thanks for being with us. Hope to see you up there on Monday night in a championship setting. That'd be kind of neat. And then on to the NCAA.
If all that plays out, that will be really neat, beyond neat. And I appreciate you having me on, Phil, always, and wish you guys well.
Thank you, sir. That's Mike Young, coach of the Wofford Terrier basketball team. They can play some defense. They're holding teams under 60 points a game.
He's a heck of a coach. I mean, really, Wofford, it's been a coup that they've been able to keep him there. I know Charleston came sniffing. Other schools, if they're smart, become sniffing because that guy can flat out coach. And it's nice to know that we will have Wofford and Charleston Southern in a postseason tournament, right?
Yeah,
NIT qualified now as regular season champs.
And Wofford is showing his toughness again by their head coach, because if he got the guts to keep coming on this show when that Hex is hanging out there,
boy, he's got to break that.
He's got
the first round of this tournament.
Because they had a hard time with Furman closing things out.
We had Barkley on last week though, and it worked out great. They won in 3 overtimes the next day.
Yeah, this is true. Now we
again,
had him on.
Ask him any questions. You were doing the baseball game.
I wasn't here. That's right.
Kiss of death corner.
When it's crunch time, they embrace that moment. I think they like it when it's tied or they got a 2-point lead or a 1-point deficit and it's 45 seconds on the clock. I think those teams embrace those moments.
All right, we'll be right back.
So first 2 days, So first 2 days, how they look?
All right, big day up at Clemson. They unveil a new tombstone commemorating the win over Oklahoma. And Tiger Net's got pictures of that if you want to take a look at it. Video as well if you want to watch the unveiling and hear what Dabo Swinney had to say. But more importantly, the Tigers had day number 2 of spring football practice. And Dabo, has he ever seen a bad practice? I don't think so.
Four.
No. Here's Dabo.
Really good. If I told the team that I'm very encouraged after 2 days. I really like the tempo. I like the energy that we've had at practice. And to be honest with you, as many young guys, we're repping 3 groups. We don't rep 3 groups in the fall, but we're repping 3 groups, trying to give everybody an opportunity to compete. And repping 3 groups on both sides. The tempo has been tremendous the first 2 days. The energy, the enthusiasm, I love all that. And then we've got some hunger out there. You know, there's a hunger that is it's kind of fresh. And I don't know how to describe it. And, you know, a lot of that comes with youth. You know, we're losing a lot of experience and really good players. You know, I got reminded by that today when I got to see all my seniors. You know, last year seniors rolling around here and going, oh, my God, well, that guy played a lot of that. But, you know, there's a hunger and innocence and energy that comes with those young guys. And so I like that. And it creates especially when they're the right kind of guys, you know, and because they're talented. We got a really talented group of young players on this team, not just the true freshmen who just got here, but the redshirt freshmen, some of those sophomores, redshirt sophomores. And so it's been a good but I can tell that they're studying. I don't have 2 backs there. I don't know anything. And we're able to kind of keep the momentum of practice and the tempo of practice going, you know, like we would hope to with some veteran guys. So I'm very encouraged with what I've seen so far. Obviously, you don't play in the game in shorts. You know, it's one thing to sack the quarterback in shorts. It's one thing to make the protection in shorts. It's one thing to make the tackle in shorts. When you put the pads on, you know, you kind of take it to another level. Now the physical part comes to play with the mental as well. So that's what we'll start that process on Friday. But this is going to be a fun spring. This is going to be a fun spring and a fun team to grow up. But I love the personnel that we have here. Very encouraged, and I you know, as far as calling people out and all that, you know, let me just say this. You know, Nick Schuessler has come to work these first 2 days. You know, we called him Sleepy Schuessler here forever, and he's awake now, and it's really impressive. He had as good a skelly team pass period as I've seen around here in a long time at quarterback. It is so encouraging to see that, and you know, that's awesome to see. You know, a guy that's kind of been that backup guy, he's got to get the chance to see him have the 2 days that he has. Good, and it's encouraging to the other veteran guys. Our first groups on both sides, you know, they look the part getting off the bus. They can hold their own. The biggest challenge for us is really growing the football IQs of our depth, so we can really create that competition that we want. So a lot of work to do these next 13 days.
You talk about competition. I know position battles in August, but you're also game planning in August. Being game planning for anything the next 2 weeks, the depth chart is still very much unsettled. Don't you get competition in spring?
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness.
Just guys
yeah.
cutting it loose.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're just a lot more fundamental time, a lot more individual time, and there's competition in that as well. And then when we put the pads on, we work against each other. We practice. We do some team separate installation type stuff, but we work against each other, good on good. And so you got Shaq Lawson grinding on Isaiah Battle, every day. They both want to win, and then you throw in a young guy like Mitch Hyatt and Albert Huggins. They both want to win, and both of them aren't going to win. And so the competition, the give and take, making each other better. It's going to be a very competitive spring from that aspect. Just guys trying to fight their way somewhere on that depth chart, because the depth chart right now is really just worthless. I mean, we got to throw somebody's got to go out there to start practice, but yeah, we got a lot of opportunity for a lot of guys, and again, that's really brought the hunger, I think. When you got Eddie Garrett who's there, and maybe it's a young guy behind him. Well, he's got a long battle in front of him.
All right, Dabo Swinney, he's got a new favorite quarterback right now. Look out, Deshaun Watson. There may be more competition in the fall than we first expected.
Yawn.
That's funny.
Yeah. Why? Has Dabo ever overspoken about one of his players?
No.
All right, going to hit a break. We'll be right back. All right, busy night here on Sports Talk, winding to a close. How quickly it goes by when you're having as much fun as we are. Asheville leading Liberty 68-61. 2 minutes to go in that game at Conway, the HTC Center. Already today, Longwood has beaten Presbyterian. Gardner-Webb has beaten Campbell. And the USC baseball, a winner today. How about this story? This is not man bites dog by any means. This is something that happens all the time in recruiting and in college athletics. But Ole Miss has hired the brother of standout quarterback prospect Shea Patterson. Reportedly, he's been hired for an off-the-field position by Ole Miss. This according to the Jackson Clarion Ledger. The brother had been at LSU as an offensive quality control assistant. And then the same day his brother committed to Ole Miss, Feb 17th, he quit that job.
Oh.
Now he's going to go to Ole Miss. But, hey, look, Danny
Neato.
Manning, Kansas hired Danny Manning's father.
Ed Manning.
LSU hired the Stanley Roberts coach. I mean, these things happen. It's part of it. It's kind of accepted. It's sort of an accepted activity. And the smart ones get it done and get the byproduct of it.
Yeah, John Wall's AAU coach was hired by Baylor, and
Absolutely.
Wall committed to Baylor, but never, and then did a detour and went to Kentucky.
Exactly right.
Do whatever it takes. And, that's a program that is willing to do whatever it takes.
Well, and they've, there's been no hint. There's been no hint of scandal there since they had the murders. But I mean, I know that he might have walked up to the line. We're talking about, is it Scott Drew?
Scott Drew.
But I don't think they've investigated him for any wrongdoing. A lot of eyebrows went up when he hired that coach because that coach had very strong connections to John Wall. I think he was, if I'm not mistaken, was he not in the Charlotte area, this coach that he hired, that Drew hired out at Baylor to help him
Charlotte or Raleigh or something.
I always think it's great, though, when they hire the guy and then the kid still goes somewhere else. And they're like, well, you're stuck with him now.
Exactly.
Now what are you going to do?
But I've seldom seen where the hire didn't result in getting the guy.
Well, that
now in Wall's case,
Baylor didn't get Wall.
Ended up going to Kentucky.
Yeah. Because that was Calipari.
The guy got the job.
Kentucky. They're going to get their guy.
Now, if I'm not mistaken,
never been investigated by the.
If I'm not mistaken, Baylor's men's program and women's program were cited for too many cell phone calls. I remember that.
Hey, who runs a cleaner program, Roy Williams or John Calipari?
Who runs a cleaner program, Roy Williams or John Calipari? Roy claims no knowledge of the academic scandal, none whatsoever. Says he had nothing to do.
You believe
with
him?
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. No, I do.
Roy will never lie to anybody.
Man cries after loss.
Four corners, everybody.
Doubt.
Four corners.
Crocodile
Nobody
tears.
cries better than he does. Have a great night. Be back tomorrow night here on Sports Talk.